Admiral Thyrak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The blue and green planet looked peaceful, almost inviting. He had seen many worlds before destroying them, but few looked as defenseless as this one. "Status report," Thyrak commanded, his scaled hands gripping the command chair. "All 300 ships are in position, Admiral," reported his second-in-command. "The humans have detected our arrival. Their primitive satellites are sending signals across their planet." Thyrak smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Draconian Empire had conquered over 200 worlds. Earth would be conquest number 201. According to their scouts, humans had barely left their own planet. They had a few small stations orbiting their world and some basic weapons, but nothing that could threaten a Draconian Armada. "Begin. Standard intimidation protocol," Thyrak ordered. "I want every major city to see our ships. Let them understand what real power looks like." The massive Draconian warships moved into position above Earth's largest cities. Each ship was over 2 miles long, bristling with weapons that could turn continents into glass. The flagship alone carried enough firepower to destroy Earth's moon. But something felt wrong. Thyrak had expected panic by now. Usually, primitive species would flood their communication networks with desperate pleas for mercy. Their military forces would scramble, launching their pathetic weapons in hopeless attacks. Leaders would broadcast surrender offers within hours. Earth was silent. "Communications officer, are you certain our jamming systems are working correctly?" Thyrak asked. "Yes, Admiral. We are blocking all their satellite networks and military frequencies, but—" The officer paused, looking confused at his screens. "But what?" "They are not trying to communicate, Admiral. No emergency broadcasts, no military scrambles. It is as if they are waiting for something." Thyrak moved to the sensor station. The readings showed normal activity in human cities. People were going about their daily lives as if 300 alien warships had not just appeared in their sky. Some were even pointing devices at the Draconian fleet and taking pictures. "Perhaps they are too primitive to understand the threat," suggested the second-in-command. "Some species we have encountered were so backward they thought our ships were natural phenomena. But humans were not that primitive. Thyrak knew they had nuclear weapons and basic space technology. They should understand exactly what the Draconian fleet represented." "Admiral," called the sensor officer, "I am detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface." "What kind of readings?" "Unknown, sir. Very powerful signatures coming from beneath the oceans and mountain ranges." "The power levels are significant." Thyrak frowned. Their intelligence reports had mentioned nothing about advanced human technology. Earth's most powerful weapons were crude nuclear devices. They had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light travel. Could they be natural phenomena, geothermal activity, or magnetic fields? "Possible, Admiral, but the patterns are very regular, almost artificial." The Admiral dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. What could humans possibly have that would worry the Draconian Empire? Their entire civilization was younger than some Draconian buildings. Even if they had hidden weapons, nothing could match the firepower of 300 warships. Hours passed. The Draconian fleet maintained its threatening positions above major human cities. Still, no surrender came. No desperate attacks were launched. The humans simply continued their normal activities while occasionally looking up at the alien ships. "This is becoming boring," Thyrak muttered. "Perhaps we should begin the attack. A few destroyed cities will motivate them to surrender." "Admiral," the sensor officer called out, sounding alarmed. "The energy readings are increasing, significantly." Thyrak looked at the display. The mysterious energy signatures beneath Earth's surface were indeed growing stronger. What had been barely detectable patterns were now clearly visible on their sensors. "And Admiral," the officer continued, "I am detecting movement beneath the ocean floors, large-scale displacement of water and rock. Seismic activity? No, sir. The movements are too controlled, too purposeful. It is as if massive structures are rising from the ocean depths. For the first time since arriving at Earth, Thirak felt a flicker of uncertainty. In all his years of conquest, he had learned to trust his instincts. And right now, those instincts were telling him something was very wrong. "Show me the Pacific Ocean," he ordered. The main screen shifted to display Earth's largest body of water. At first, everything looked normal. Blue water stretched from horizon to horizon, with small human ships scattered across the surface. Then they saw it. Far below the water, something enormous was moving. The ocean itself seemed to be bulging upward as if something the size of a small continent was pushing against the surface from below. "What is the size of that object?" Thirak asked quietly. The sensor officer worked frantically at his controls. "Admiral, I am having difficulty getting accurate readings. The object appears to extend for hundreds of miles in all directions. It is larger than our entire fleet." Other officers were now reporting similar movements in different parts of Earth. Something was rising from beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The Mediterranean Sea was showing massive displacement. Even some mountain ranges were registering unusual activity. "Could the humans have built underwater cities?" asked the second-in-command. "Some species we have conquered had extensive underground civilizations." "Not possible," Thirak replied, but his voice lacked its usual certainty. "Our intelligence is thorough. Humans have barely explored their own oceans, let alone built anything in them." "Admiral, the Pacific structure is approaching the surface. Estimated time to breach, 12 minutes. Thirak stared at the screen. Whatever was down there was huge, beyond imagination. Larger than anything the Draconian Empire had ever built. But that was impossible. Humans were primitive. They had to be. "All ships, battle stations," he ordered. "Whatever emerges from that ocean, we will be ready for it." The Draconian fleet moved into attack formation above the Pacific Ocean. 300 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy prepared to face an unknown enemy. But as they waited, watching the water bulge higher and higher, Admiral Thirak began to wonder if the Draconian Empire had finally encountered something beyond their understanding. The water began to glow with a soft blue light. The entire Pacific Ocean was illuminating from below as something vast and ancient prepared to surface after sleeping for thousands of years. In the cities below, humans had stopped their normal activities. They were gathering in public spaces, looking up at both the alien ships and the glowing ocean. But they were not afraid. They were waiting. They had been waiting for a very long time. As the first massive structure began to break the ocean surface, Admiral Thirak realized that Earth held secrets that no intelligence report had ever mentioned. The humans were not as primitive as they appeared. And something told him that the Draconian Empire was about to learn exactly how wrong their assumptions had been. The ocean split open like a flower blooming in reverse. Water cascaded off the sides of something so massive that Admiral Thirak's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. The structure emerging from the Pacific was not a ship or a building. It was something else entirely. Metal and crystal formed patterns that seemed to shift and flow even though they were solid. The surface was dark gray, almost black, but lines of blue energy ran across it like veins carrying light instead of blood. As more of the structure emerged from the water, it became clear that this was just the tip of something much larger. "Size." "Estimate?" Thirak asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Admiral, the visible portion is approximately 50 miles long and 30 miles wide, but our sensors indicate the structure extends much deeper. The total size may be over 200 miles. In length, 200 miles. The entire Draconian fleet could fit in a small corner of this thing." "Similar structures are emerging worldwide, Admiral," reported another officer. "Atlantic Ocean, Mediterranean Sea, Indian Ocean. We are detecting 12 major structures and dozens of smaller ones. And the mountain ranges?" The Himalayan mountain range is opening, Admiral. Our sensors show massive hollow spaces that our previous scans missed completely. The Rocky Mountains in North America are showing similar activity. It appears these structures have been hidden for a very long time. Thyrak watched as more of the Pacific structure emerged. Now he could see that it was not smooth. The surface was covered in what looked like weapons. Thousands of them. Each weapon was larger than his flagship's main guns. "How long have these been here?" he asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Based on the geological data, Admiral, these structures appear to have been in place for at least 50,000 Earth years, possibly longer. 50,000 years, before the Draconian Empire existed, before most known civilizations had developed space travel. These structures had been waiting beneath Earth's surface since before recorded galactic history. But that is impossible, Thyrak said. Humans have only had basic technology for a few thousand years. They could not have built these. No, sir, they could not have. But someone did. The implications hit Thyrak like a physical blow. If humans had not built these structures, then someone else had. Someone with technology far beyond anything the Draconian Empire possessed. And they had built them to protect Earth. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. From the humans? No, sir. From the structures. The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of showing the emerging Guardian structure, it now displayed a symbol. The symbol was complex, made of interlocking, circles and lines that seemed to pulse with inner light. Then the symbol faded, replaced by words in perfect Draconian script. "Greetings, Admiral Thyrak of the Draconian Empire. We have been expecting you." The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the screen in shock. The transmission was coming. From structures that had been hidden for 50,000 years, but they knew Admiral Thyrak's name and spoke his language perfectly. "We are the Guardians of Earth," the message continued. "We have protected this world and its people for longer than your empire has existed. We have watched your fleet since you entered this star system. We have studied your technology, your tactics, and your history." Thyrak found his voice. "Who are you? What species built you?" "We were created by humanity's ancestors. The same species you now threaten. They left us here to watch over their descendants and to protect them from threats such as yourself." "That is impossible. Humans are primitive. They have no advanced technology." "The humans of today are not the humans who built us. 50,000 years ago, humanity was a spacefaring civilization that spanned multiple star systems. They faced a catastrophe that nearly destroyed their entire species. A small population was placed on this world for their protection, with their memories of advanced technology suppressed to allow them to develop naturally. The transmission paused, and new images appeared on the screen. Thyrak saw star maps showing human colonies throughout the galaxy. He saw massive space stations and ships that made Draconian vessels look like toys. He saw a civilization of incredible advancement that had somehow vanished from all galactic records. We were left behind to guard their descendants until they were ready to reclaim their heritage. The Guardian continued. That time has not yet come, but it approaches, and we will not allow their development to be interrupted by conquest. You cannot threaten the Draconian Empire, Thyrak said, trying to regain his composure. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. We have weapons that can destroy planets. We know of your conquests, Admiral. We know of the civilizations you have enslaved and destroyed. We know of the Vexari homeworld, which your forces sterilized 3 months ago. We know of the children you killed on Kelos Prime. We know everything. Images flashed across the screen showing Draconian attacks on peaceful worlds. Thyrak saw his own ships bombarding cities, saw the faces of the beings his empire had killed. The Guardians had somehow accessed every military record, every classified report, every secret the Draconian Empire possessed. Your technology cannot match ours, Thyrak said, though doubt was creeping into his voice. These structures are old, ancient. Their power sources must be nearly depleted. Test that theory if you wish, Admiral. Fire upon us. Launch your most powerful weapons. Discover for yourself whether age has weakened our defenses. Around the Pacific structure, smaller objects began emerging from the water. They looked almost organic, like sea creatures made of metal and energy. But they moved with purpose, taking positions around the massive Guardian. Those are support units, the transmission explained. Each one contains more firepower than your entire fleet. They have been waiting beneath Earth's oceans, ready to respond to any threat to our charges. Similar objects were emerging around the other Guardian structures worldwide. Hundreds of them, each one large enough to be a significant warship, but they moved like living things instead of machines. "What do you want?" Therak asked. "We want you to leave. Depart this system immediately and never return. Spread word throughout the galaxy that Earth is under protection. Warn other aggressive species that attempts to harm humanity will result in their complete destruction. And if we refuse, then you will join the other failed invaders." Other invaders? New images appeared on the screen. Therak saw wreckage scattered across the ocean floors around Earth. Ships from dozens of different species, all destroyed and left as monuments to their failed attacks. Some of the wrecks looked ancient, others more recent. All had tried to conquer Earth. None had succeeded. "You are not the first to underestimate humanity, Admiral. The Zephyrian Empire tried to enslave Earth 6,000 years ago. The Void Reapers attempted to harvest human genetic material 2,000 years ago. The crystalline hegemony sought to strip mine Earth's resources 800 years ago. All failed. All are now part of our underwater museum." Therak stared at the images. Some of the ships were from species he had never heard of. Others were from civilizations the Draconian Empire had assumed were destroyed by natural disasters or internal conflicts. "The choice is yours, Admiral. Leave peacefully and live to warn others about Earth's protection, or attack us and become another exhibit in our collection of failed conquests." The transmission ended, leaving the Draconian bridge in stunned silence. Below them, the Guardian structures continued to emerge from Earth's waters and mountains. They were not just ancient defense systems. They were monuments to the power of a lost civilization that still protected its children. And for the first time in his long career of conquest, Admiral Therak began to understand that the Draconian Empire might have finally encountered something they could not defeat. Admiral Therak stared at the Guardian structures rising from Earth's oceans and mountains. Part of him wanted to order an immediate retreat, but he was a Draconian. His empire had built its reputation on never backing down from a fight. To flee now would bring shame that would follow him for the rest of his life. "Admiral," his second-in-command said quietly, "perhaps we should consider strategic withdrawal. These structures represent unknown technology. It would be wise to return with more ships and better intelligence." "No," Therak said firmly. "The Draconian Empire does not run from primitives hiding behind ancient machines. These Guardians may be powerful, but they are old. Their power sources have been running for 50,000 years. They must be nearly exhausted." He turned to face his crew. "Besides, look at their behavior. They talk instead of attacking. They show us museums and history lessons. If they were truly powerful enough to destroy us, why have they not already done so? They are bluffing, hoping to scare us away without a fight." Several officers nodded agreement, but others looked uncertain. The Guardian structures were impossibly large and clearly contained technology beyond anything they had encountered. "All ships, prepare for attack," Therak commanded. "Target the largest structure in the Pacific Ocean. Full bombardment, all weapons." "Admiral," the communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving another transmission from the Guardians." "Ignore it. They have said enough." But the transmission came through anyway, bypassing their communication systems entirely and appearing directly on all screens throughout the ship. "Admiral Therak, we strongly advise against this course of action. We do not wish to harm you or your crew. Leave now, and no one needs to die today." "You hear that?" Thyrak said to his crew. They are pleading with us. They know they cannot win a direct battle. The Admiral opened a channel to all ships in his fleet. This is Admiral Thyrak. These ancient machines are trying to frighten us with empty threats. We are Draconians. We do not surrender to museum pieces. Attack! 300 Draconian warships opened fire simultaneously. The space around Earth lit up with energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile streams. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The weapons struck the Guardian structure in the Pacific Ocean with devastating force. For a moment, the massive structure disappeared behind a wall of explosions and energy discharges. Steam rose from the ocean as weapons designed to crack planets poured their fury into the ancient defense system. Then the explosions cleared. The Guardian structure was completely undamaged. It had not even moved from the impact. The weapons that could destroy continents had not left so much as a scorch mark on its surface. Impossible, Thyrak whispered. Admiral, the energy readings from that structure are increasing dramatically, reported the sensor officer. Power levels are rising beyond our measurement capabilities. All ships continue firing, maximum intensity. The Draconian fleet unleashed everything they had. Every weapon, every missile, every ounce of destructive power in their arsenal focused on the Guardian structure. The ocean boiled from the energy discharge. The explosions were visible from space, and still the Guardian remained untouched. You have made your choice, Admiral Thyrak, came the Guardian's voice through their speakers. We are sorry it has come to this. What happened next would be remembered by the surviving Draconian crew for the rest of their lives. The Guardian structure did not fire weapons. Instead, it simply extended its influence. Every Draconian ship in the fleet suddenly went dark, not destroyed, not damaged, but completely powerless. Engines stopped, weapons went offline. Life support systems shut down. Emergency power failed to activate. In seconds, 300 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy became floating pieces of metal. What did you do? Thyrak shouted, but his voice echoed strangely in the sudden silence. Even the bridge lighting had failed. We have disabled your ships, Admiral. Your crews are alive but powerless. Your weapons cannot function. Your engines cannot start. You are completely at our mercy. Emergency lights flickered on throughout the Draconian fleet, but they were powered by the Guardians, not the ship's own systems. The aliens found themselves breathing air provided by their enemy, living only because the Guardians chose to let them live. This is impossible, Thyrak said. No technology can disable an entire fleet simultaneously without attacking the ships directly. Your technology cannot, the Guardian agreed. But we are not using your technology. We are using principles of energy manipulation that your species has not yet discovered. We can control any electrical or energy-based system within a significant range of our structures. The main screen flickered back to life, again powered by the Guardians rather than the ship's systems. But instead of showing Earth, it displayed images that made Thyrak's blood run cold. He saw Draconian soldiers murdering civilians on conquered worlds. He saw entire species being loaded onto slave ships. He saw children being separated from their parents, cities being burned, cultures being destroyed, all Draconian conquests, all ordered by commanders like himself. These are your crimes, Admiral, the Guardian said, the crimes of your empire. We have watched your species for many years, hoping you would evolve beyond such cruelty. Instead, you have become worse. More images flashed across the screen. The complete genocide of the Vexari homeworld, the enslavement of the peaceful harmony, singers, the destruction of the ancient libraries of Kelos Prime, hundreds of civilizations wiped out or enslaved by Draconian forces. We tried to warn you peacefully. We offered you the chance to leave without bloodshed. But you chose violence. You chose to attack the world we have protected for 50,000 years. We are soldiers, Thyrak said, trying to maintain some dignity. We follow orders. We serve our empire. And your empire serves only itself. It spreads suffering wherever it goes. It turns peaceful worlds into battlefields and free people into slaves. This cannot continue. Around the disabled Draconian fleet, more Guardian structures continued to emerge. They rose from every major ocean and mountain range on Earth. Each one was massive beyond imagination, bristling with weapons that made the Draconian arsenal look like toys. But the most frightening thing was not their size or their weapons. It was their age. These structures had been waiting beneath Earth's surface for 50,000 years. They had been built by a civilization that had mastered technology the Draconian Empire could barely understand, and they had been left behind. For one purpose: to protect humanity from threats exactly like the Draconian Armada. "What will you do with us?" Thyrak asked. "That depends on what you do next, Admiral. Your ships are disabled but not destroyed. Your crews are alive but powerless. You can still choose how this ends." "We cannot surrender. The Draconian Empire does not surrender. Then you will become a warning to others." The Guardian structures began to move. Not towards the disabled fleet, but into positions around them. They formed a perfect sphere with the Draconian ships trapped in the center. Each Guardian was large enough to be seen with the naked eye from the Draconian vessels. "We are creating a monument, Admiral, a testament to what happens when aggressive species threaten our charges. Your fleet will remain here, powerless and drifting, as a warning to any other empire that considers attacking Earth. Our people will come looking for us. We hope they do. When they arrive, they will see your ships and understand that Earth is protected by forces beyond their comprehension. Perhaps they will be wiser than you and choose to leave peacefully." Admiral Thyrak realized that he had made the greatest mistake in Draconian history. He had led the Empire's most powerful fleet against an enemy they could not possibly defeat. And now that fleet would spend eternity floating in space above Earth, a monument to the consequences of underestimating humanity and their ancient protectors. 3 days after the Draconian fleet was disabled, small human spacecraft began approaching the Guardian structures. Unlike the massive alien warships floating powerless above Earth, these human vessels were tiny and looked primitive in comparison. But they carried the most important cargo in human history, representatives of their entire species. President Sarah Martinez of the Global Earth Council stood on the observation deck of the shuttle as it approached the Pacific Guardian. Even knowing what to expect, she gasped at the structure's incredible size. The Guardian stretched beyond the horizon in every direction, its dark surface covered with patterns of blue energy that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. "Docking bay opening on the Guardian's lower section," reported the pilot. "They are guiding us in with some kind of tractor beam." Martinez was joined by representatives from every major nation on Earth, along with the planet's top scientists, military leaders, and philosophers. They had been chosen to learn the truth about humanity's origins and decide how their species would move forward. The docking bay was vast enough to hold a small city. As the human shuttle settled onto the landing platform, Martinez could see that the walls were covered with symbols and images that seemed to shift and change as she watched. "Them. Welcome, children of humanity," a voice said as they disembarked. The speaker was hard to describe. It looked somewhat human, but taller and more graceful, with features that seemed both ancient and timeless. It wore robes that appeared to be made of liquid starlight. "Are you human?" asked Dr. Robert Chen, Earth's leading archaeologist. "I am a Guardian interface created to communicate with your species. My appearance is based on genetic memories stored within the Guardian systems. This is how your ancestors looked 50,000 years ago." The Guardian interface led them through corridors that defied understanding. The walls seemed to be made of flowing energy rather than solid matter. Lights moved through the air like living things. The technology was so advanced that it seemed more like magic than science. "Your ancestors were remarkable beings. the interface explained as they walked. They had mastered faster-than-light travel, energy manipulation, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence. Their civilization spanned dozens of star systems and included billions of people. What happened to them? Martinez asked. Catastrophe. A cosmic event that your scientists would call a gamma-ray burst struck the center of human space. It happened without warning and with devastating effect. Entire star systems were sterilized instantly. The burst was followed by a wave of radiation that made most human worlds uninhabitable for thousands of years. They entered a vast chamber filled with holographic displays. The displays showed images of the ancient human civilization at its peak, cities that floated in space, ships that could travel between galaxies, planets that had been transformed into perfect gardens. Less than 1% of humanity survived. The interface continued. Perhaps 50 million people from a civilization that had numbered in the billions. They were scattered across a few colonies on the outer edges of human space, places where the radiation effects were less severe. But why don't we remember any of this? Asked General Patricia Wong, Earth's military coordinator. Because your ancestors made a difficult decision. They realized that the survivors were traumatized, broken by the loss of everything they had known. They were afraid that knowledge of their former greatness would prevent them from building something new, so they chose to forget. The holographic displays changed to show a beautiful blue and green world. Earth, as it had been 50,000 years ago. Earth was selected as a sanctuary world. It had the right conditions to support human life and was far enough from the galactic center to be safe from future cosmic disasters. A small population was brought here, about 10,000 people. Only 10,000? Dr. Chen asked in amazement. All of current humanity descended from 10,000 survivors? Yes, and those survivors had their memories of advanced technology suppressed. They were allowed to remember basic knowledge like agriculture, medicine, and simple tools. But the trauma of their civilization's destruction and all knowledge of advanced science was blocked from their minds. Martinez felt overwhelmed by the implications. So everything we have achieved, everything we have built, we did starting from almost nothing? Exactly. Your ancestors wanted to see if humanity could rediscover its potential naturally, without the burden of their tragic history. They left us behind to watch over you and protect you while you developed, and you have been watching us for 50,000 years. Every generation, every major development, every step forward and every step backward. We have seen your species grow from small tribes into a global civilization. We have watched you discover fire, agriculture, writing, mathematics, and science. We have seen you split the atom and reach for the stars. The interface led them to another section of the chamber where the walls showed images of human history. But these were not the versions found in any textbook. They showed human development from the Guardian perspective, highlighting moments when they had secretly intervened to prevent humanity's destruction. We have protected you from many threats over the millennia. Natural disasters, asteroid impacts, hostile alien visitors. Most of humanity never knew how close you came to extinction several times. Like the Draconians above us now? General Wong asked. The Draconians were just the latest threat. Over the centuries, 17 different alien species have attempted to conquer or destroy Earth. All failed. Their ships join our underwater museum, serving as warnings to future would-be invaders. Dr. Chen studied the historical displays carefully. Some of these interventions explain mysteries that have puzzled archaeologists for centuries. Sudden technological advances, civilizations that seemed to appear overnight, disasters that were somehow averted. We tried to be subtle. Small nudges, when your species was ready for them. Just enough help to keep you moving forward without making you dependent on us. Why are you revealing all this now? Martinez asked. The interface paused, its expression becoming serious. Because our time as your guardians is ending. We were built with power sources designed to last 50,000 years. Those sources are finally beginning to fail. Within one of your decades, we will go dormant permanently. The weight of this revelation hit the human representatives like a physical blow. The protectors who had watched over their species since its near extinction were about to disappear. "But we are not ready," General Wong protested. "We have just barely reached our own moon. We do not have the technology to protect ourselves from threats like the Draconians. That is why we are sharing our knowledge with you now. You have 10 years to prepare. 10 years to learn what you need to defend yourselves and eventually take our place as guardians." Take your place? Yes. The galaxy is full of young civilizations that need protection from predatory species like the Draconians. Your ancestors were guardians once, before the catastrophe. It is time for humanity to reclaim that role. The interface gestured to the walls around them. This facility and 11 others like it around your world will open their knowledge banks to you. You will learn to build ships that can cross the galaxy in days. You will master weapons that can disable entire fleets without harming their crews. You will gain the tools needed to protect not just Earth, but any world that faces extinction at the hands of aggressive empires. Martinez looked around at her fellow representatives. She could see the same mixture of awe, fear, and excitement in all their faces. Humanity was being offered the chance to become something greater than they had ever imagined. But with that opportunity came enormous responsibility. "What about the Draconians above us?" she asked. "What happens to them?" "That choice is yours to make. You are no longer children who need our protection. You are inheritors of a great legacy. The Draconian fleet will remain disabled until you decide their fate. For the first time in 50,000 years, humanity would have to make decisions that affected the entire galaxy. The sleeping giants who had protected them were finally ready to pass the torch to their charges. The question was whether humanity was ready to accept it. 10 years had passed since the day the Guardians revealed themselves to humanity. Earth had changed in ways that would have seemed impossible just a decade earlier. Cities now gleamed with buildings that seemed to grow rather than be constructed, their surfaces shifting and adapting to weather and need. Vehicles moved silently through the air, powered by energy sources that produced no pollution. Disease and hunger had become memories as Guardian technology transformed medicine and agriculture. But the most dramatic changes were not on Earth's surface. They were hidden beneath the Himalayan mountain range, where humanity had built its first Guardian-class vessel. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESV Protector, watching her crew perform final system checks. The ship was 2 miles long and incorporated technology that had taken human scientists 10 years to barely understand. It could cross the galaxy in days, disable enemy fleets without destroying them, and carry enough firepower to defend entire star systems. More importantly, it carried humanity's new mission. "All systems ready, Admiral," reported Commander James Murphy, her first officer. Like everyone aboard the Protector, Murphy had spent years training with Guardian technology. They were no longer quite the same species that had once looked up at alien ships with primitive telescopes. "Guardian interface online," announced the communications officer. The holographic form of their ancient protector appeared on the bridge, looking exactly as it had 10 years ago. "This will be our final communication," the Guardian said. "Our power sources are nearly exhausted. Within hours, all Guardian facilities will enter permanent dormancy. From this moment forward, humanity stands alone." Chen felt the weight of that responsibility. The Protector was the first of 12 ships humanity would build, each one designed to protect a different sector of the galaxy. Other vessels were already under construction in hidden facilities around Earth and on the Moon. "We have detected a distress signal from the Kepler system," the Guardian continued. "A young civilization called the Alterans is facing attack from a species known as the Void Hunters. The Alterans have just discovered electricity and radio. They have no defense against orbital bombardment." Chen studied the tactical display. The Kepler system was 43 light-years from Earth. In the old days, such a journey would have taken thousands of years. The Protector could make the trip in 6 days. The Void Hunters are a nomadic species that survives by stripping resources from inhabited worlds, the Guardian explained. They have destroyed over 30 civilizations in the past millennium. Their fleet consists of approximately 200 ships, each one comparable to the old Draconian vessels. Rules of engagement? Chen asked. That is for humanity to decide. We protected you with minimal force, disabling rather than destroying when possible. But you may choose your own methods. You are no longer our charges. You are our successors. Chen looked around her bridge. Her crew was ready. They had trained for this moment since the Guardians first revealed themselves. But training and reality were different things. What happened to the Draconian fleet? She asked. The Guardian's expression became solemn. They remain in orbit above Earth, exactly where they were disabled 10 years ago. Their crews are still alive, sustained by our life support systems. We maintain them as a monument and a warning to other aggressive species. But our power is failing. Soon, we will no longer be able to keep them alive. So their fate becomes our decision. Yes, you may release them, execute them, or find another solution. The choice reflects what kind of guardians humanity will become. Chen had given this question considerable thought over the years. The Draconian Empire had committed terrible crimes against hundreds of civilizations. Admiral Thirak himself had ordered the genocide of the Vexari homeworld. Justice demanded punishment, but the Guardians had shown that there was another way. They had demonstrated power without cruelty, strength without massacre. Guardian, please inform Admiral Thirak that he and his fleet will be released after we return from the Kepler system. Their ships will be repaired and supplied with enough resources to return to Draconian space. However, they will carry a message from humanity to their empire. What message? That Earth is under new management, that humanity has inherited the role of galactic protector, and that any empire that attacks peaceful civilizations will face the same fate they did, but perhaps not with the same mercy. The Guardian nodded approvingly. Your ancestors would be proud. You have chosen to be protectors rather than conquerors. Helm, set course for the Kepler system, Chen ordered. Maximum speed. The Protector's engines engaged with barely a whisper of sound. Through the viewports, the stars began to shift as the ship accelerated beyond the speed of light. Humanity's first mission as Galactic Guardians had begun. The journey to Kepler took 6 days, but the Protector's crew used that time to study the situation. The Void Hunters had already begun their attack on Altera Prime. Several major cities were in ruins, and the planet's primitive military was helpless against orbital bombardment. 47 million Alterans dead, reported the intelligence officer. The Void Hunters appear to be following their standard pattern. Destroy major population centers, then land ground forces to harvest resources and capture survivors for slave labor. Chen studied the tactical display. The Void Hunter fleet was spread across Altera's solar system, their ships methodically, stripping the planet of anything valuable. 200 ships, just as the Guardian had said, each one bristling with weapons designed to terrorize primitive civilizations. They never faced anything like us before, Commander Murphy observed. No, they haven't, and they never will again. All hands. Battle stations. We're going to send a message to the galaxy. The ESV Protector dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler system. Immediately, the ship's sensors detected the Void Hunter fleet and began analyzing their technology, tactics, and communications. Open a channel to the Void Hunter flagship, Chen ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a shark. The Void Hunter commander had multiple eyes arranged around a circular mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. Unknown vessel, you will leave this system immediately or be destroyed, the alien hissed. This world belongs to the hunt now. My name is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Ship Protector. The world you are attacking is now under the protection. Of humanity. Cease your bombardment immediately and withdraw from this system. The Void Hunter commander made a sound that might have been laughter. 1 ship against 200? Your species must be insane. We have devoured 47 civilizations. We will add yours to the list. You have devoured your last civilization, Chen replied calmly. This ends now. The Void Hunter fleet opened fire on the Protector. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human vessel, but the ship's shields, based on Guardian technology, absorbed the attacks without strain. The Protector had not even moved to avoid the incoming fire. Your weapons are ineffective, Chen announced. Stand down immediately. Instead, the Void Hunters increased their attack intensity. All 200 ships focused their fire on the single human vessel. The space around the Protector blazed with energy discharges and explosions. And still, the human ship remained undamaged. Very well, Chen said quietly. You have made your choice. The Protector did not return fire with conventional weapons. Instead, it simply extended its influence, just as the Guardians had done to the Draconian fleet years earlier. Every Void Hunter ship in the system suddenly lost power. Engines died. Weapons went offline. Life support failed. In less than 30 seconds, the entire Void Hunter fleet was helpless. This is impossible, the alien commander gasped as emergency lighting flickered on in his ship. This is justice, Chen replied. For 47 civilizations, for 30 destroyed worlds, for millions of lives lost to your greed. But Chen did not leave the Void Hunters to die in space. That was not the human way. Instead, she gave them a choice. Your ships will be repaired with basic life support and propulsion, she announced. You will be escorted to the edge of known space and released. If any Void Hunter ship ever again attacks a peaceful civilization, humanity will find you. And, next time, we will not be so merciful. Who are you? The alien commander whispered. We are the inheritors of the Guardians. We are the protectors of the weak and the enemies of those who prey upon the innocent. We are humanity, and we are watching. Below them on Altera Prime, the surviving population looked up at their sky in wonder as the orbital bombardment suddenly stopped. They did not yet understand what had happened, but they could see new stars appearing in their night sky as human rescue ships began arriving to help with disaster relief. One day, when the Alterans developed space travel, they would learn the full story. They would discover that in their darkest hour, when extinction seemed certain, strangers from across the galaxy had come to their aid. They would learn that some species chose to protect rather than prey upon others, and perhaps, when they were ready, they too would take up the role of guardians. As the ESV Protector began its journey back to Earth, Admiral Chen looked at the stars ahead and thought about the future. Humanity had